about
No,
Kevin?
I definitely want to go upstairs and get that book and find out what the description was, because the red jeans is...
I honestly believe that's what he was wearing that night.
Think so?
Yep.
I remember
From
the top,
picture.
I just can't remember what
From
pants, but yeah, possibly.
my picture that I have.
You did have them. And then the JR thing, just, there's no way he could have known.
No, JR was like, JR.
What they were wearing.
This is going to be a different type of reaction video in that I'm reacting to a sizzle demo I did back in 2013 for a show with the working title Answers from the Other Side. It was kind of a psychic detective show wherein we investigated the Pickering Lost Boys case. That case has never been solved, so if you I'll put a link in the description here. If you have any information regarding the Pickering Lost Boys, please click on that link and follow it. Please subscribe to my channel. We do paranormal investigations. I am no longer doing cold case work on a volunteer basis. There was just this this huge inundating demand for it, and I grew overwhelmed with it in 2018, and I choose not to do it ever since. For that, I apologize. Should you need the help of a professional in helping locate a missing persons or someone, or discover the cause behind someone's passing, I suggest you hire a private investigator. Just to be clear, I think that's the best way to go. I won't point fingers at who was in the wrong or who did what, just out of respect to the police agencies involved. I will suggest that Bruce Ricketts, a private investigator turned author, has maybe done the lion's share of work on privately discovering what happened to these 6 lost boys who went missing on Lake Ontario. The video will give you that kind of background. I very much stand by my suggestion that red pants linked to Jay Boyle were found, and I to the day I die, I'll suggest that red pants exist within police custody that belong to him. So I wanted to make that clear too. With nothing more to say, let's launch into this. This is not a polished video. I didn't want to edit. I didn't want to cut away or clean up my language. I haven't done any research on what's happened since, other than what I've read in the occasional news story, or sometimes someone will shoot me an article since they know that this discovery was mine and made evident by me. But I haven't done any research, so don't fault me for the lack of research, or if I misstate what's happening now. There's no intent behind it. I'm not trying to color this in a particular way. I can tell you that DNA for the remains that were associated with the red pants it was either they were indeterminate or they weren't a match for Jay Boyle. But Bruce Ricketts also suggests there is some issues with the chain of custody, chain of evidence between the red pants, the remains with the red pants, and where they eventually ended up. So if you want more on this mystery, definitely go and pursue anything developed by Bruce Ricketts. Again, I can't suggest that enough. I'm not the end-all be-all for this information. Let's get started, and be patient with me. I'm not super techie. I liked this intro.
I'm Kevin Whitaker. I'm from South Carolina. I grew up on a little farm in a town of 54 people. Saw spirits the entire time that I lived there. Tried to communicate that to my parents, family members and stuff. A little hard for them to believe, and plus you're in the Bible Belt, so that's not real cool. Ended up as a private investigator. And naturally the two skills kind of go together. Being intuitive, receiving spirit, and then working wrongful death cases and missing persons cases. It just went hand in hand.
So this gives you a little bit of the background of what we were investigating at the time. When working a case like this, like I said, my motivation is to provide something physical that then a police agency or a private investigator can go forward with, that produces a terminal result at the end of a case. That can't always be done, but that's what we hope to happen. I don't know the name of this investigator.
This boat catches my interest in that I feel like there should have been a cabin on the boat that they took. I think it's just odd that the paddle boat never turned up either. Yeah. But I think I have a theory about that too. That kind of goes along with what I see intuitively. It was strange
like
reliving. For me, it's almost like reliving these events. I kept getting the name JR called out. I didn't know how it fit in after kind of seeing the case as far as like maybe a nickname or initials or something of that nature. I kept trying to place the initials. I was a little surprised with what I kept getting visually. My thought is that boat, the Boston Whaler, had been tied to the paddle boat, and the paddle boat was being pulled along by the Boston Whaler. And oddly enough, and I always just voice what I get these red pants that may have already been found by police, not something that we've heard, that may be associated with this and maybe not expected to be, maybe evidence or something of that nature.
I still stand by that, absolutely stand by that.
My name is Barbara Fleury. My gift
Oh, Miss Barbara
comes
Fleury.
to me first as a feeling.
Haven't seen her in 9
then
years.
It can shift into a knowing. The intuitive side is the gut, your gut instinct. Through that can come your visions or your glimpses and knowings and things like that.
At this point, this is the first time we sat with his family.
I kept getting a spirit. It's odd because he calls a JR, and I don't know if those initials mean anything.
His name is JR. We call him J. We only ever called him JR when we were mad at him.
Hard to say, but I think one fell over by accident. And then when I saw the jumping, I think somebody jumped over to help. And then there's two in trouble, and then they, you know what I mean? They were all trying to help each other.
When I talk about my impressions on that night, I do get kind of a repeated event that obviously kind of spells doom for a bunch of boys. And I have won the water. My thought is they probably stopped that boat on that choppy water, not really knowing or appreciating what to do out there, and trying to get a friend back to the boat. Another thing that I kept getting, this is going to sound strange, but I keep getting the situation where I feel like these red pants have turned up as evidence somewhere else. And I didn't know if one of these guys had been wearing red jeans. I know it sounds weird, it sounds dated, during that time period, but I keep getting that sense.
So,
No, I
Kevin?
definitely want to go upstairs and get that book and find out what the description was, because the red jeans is.
I honestly believe that's what he was wearing that night.
Think so?
Yep.
I remember
From
the
the
top. I
picture.
just can't remember what
From
pants, but yeah, possibly.
My picture that I have.
You did have them. And then the JR thing, just there's no way he could have known.
No, JR was like, JR.
What they were wearing.
I just want to say here, Monique later told me, she's the brunette on the right, that she very much wanted to go up and see what the police report at the time had said, just making sure that if I was unscrupulous, I could have looked up that information beforehand somehow. And but the police report or the missing persons report doesn't state anything about red pants. And that the last photo, the one you saw there, taken at the party, demonstrates he had red pants at that time. Also, the nickname that the sisters had for their brother, he goes by Jay, but it seems like whenever he is in trouble, he went by JR. So to make that connection, I think often Spirit gives us the things that we can validate or can't be validated anywhere else, so that there's evidence and proof beyond what somebody could look up. Sadly, within my industry, I know that there's a lot of sketchy people who play at what I do, and unfortunately they make a bad name for the rest of us. So I always have to have that little degree of evidence that I can present to a family to share with them, so that they know that what's happening is they are getting connections from the other side. Wow. Yeah, it's still powerful. I hadn't seen that in the better part of 8 or 9 years. I want to say too, I did not make the I didn't find the red pants in evidence. I think a director or a family member found those.
The search for their brother took the family in a new direction this past October. After speaking with a psychic, the family looked up the OPP's missing persons page and found this: unidentified remains recovered from the Niagara River in 1998. A pair of red Levi jeans.
And so they were able to find that. The key factor is the association between the red pants and the possibility of it belonging to Jay Boyle. That was critical. Since that time, DNA has been run on the remains that were associated with the red pants. I see it in that way because there's some debate on whether or not those remains were the ones found alongside the red pants, and there was no information that concluded that the bones belonged to Jay Boyle. One of the forensic pathologists stated that the brand was Levi's brand, which we know would have been a pair that would match what Jay had worn. Bruce Ricketts makes the best case for the controversy around the red pants. He states simply that that those types of Levi's had that number of belt loops on them, and definitely were of the same design. They were particular to that time period of when these boys went missing. So what I used to say 8-9 years ago is, how many pairs of red pants do you think are going to turn up in that area? I think the remains we're talking about with those red pants were found in the Niagara River. And so they were saying that there's no way for remains to float into that river. But nothing suggests that, those boys didn't somehow cross land, then at that point end up in the Niagara River, and that occurred. I think if we take literally excuse me, if we take literally everything that happened and create a timeline around, this happening that night on the lake, then it seems like a stretch to suggest they should be related. But if they were able to, go and travel and then attempt to get back to the lake or the river on boat, then that could explain that. So there's a lot of unknowns still. Again, if you have information, please share it. I'll put a link to the tips down in the description. Again, I don't want any further cold cases. Please don't send them to me. Two, I wish all the best for this family. I know it's heartbreaking to be left without a conclusion, and it's been it's been over 20 years now since this has happened, and with very little evidence. So I thought I'd share that with you. If you want more information about the Pickering Lost Boys case, Google Bruce Ricketts, Ricketts. I think he's the definitive source. I just wish for a conclusion. I feel like with what I granted, there's a possibility of finding some degree of closure. And sometimes I can feel like that bit of information just isn't enough. So thought I'd share. I'm not the best person to answer questions regarding the Pickering Lost Boys. Again, if you want to find out more, there's many topics on this cold case. And Bruce Ricketts, again, is the definitive source. He's written a book recently. I have no association with him. Met him once on the beach, I think. But I think he has a book he's written and he published back in September of 2022. So it's definitely worth checking out. My prayers and my best wishes to the Boyle family and all the families involved here, Monique as well. And I just hope that there's some degree of closure in the near future.